Today's presentation is being recorded, and once it updates, will be available on our website at premiersmi.com and on our website, our YouTube channel as well. Everyone who has expressed interest in today's presentation will be receiving an email with a link to that presentation and some data that we reference throughout the course of the presentation. You'll note in the software package, it has a section for both questions and chat. We ask that you put your questions in the questions box. We find that many times we answer them all through the course of the presentation, but we'll make certain that we address any inquiries that you have throughout the presentation, and most certainly at the end. As a bit of a level set as well, let's discuss a little bit about who Premier Marketing is. We're a national marketing organization founded in 1968 that's part of the Integrity Marketing Platform. Offices across the country. We're contracted in all 50 states. We act as an insurance wholesaler, working with and through independent insurance agents such as yourself, offering contracts at the highest possible commission levels with recruiting contracts available to those who qualify. We do so through a full portfolio of products. The Medicare programs that are in great demand, particularly as we roll into the annual election period starting in a couple of weeks or so, that include the Medicare Advantage and Medicare Supplement programs and the standalone prescription drug programs. But we also offer a full portfolio of life insurance and annuity products, including final expense life insurance and pre-need plans, offering long and short-term care programs and disability income plans as well, and those ancillary benefits that address specific needs not covered by some of the base medical coverages, such as dental, vision, hearing program, critical illness cancer plans, hospital indemnity and accident insurance, and even a telehealth program. They help add to the coverage that folks need across the board and give us additional opportunities to sell as well. When we look at the Medicare Advantage portfolio, it has the national carriers in there for you and many of the strong regionals that can make a difference for you in your market. And the same philosophy carries over into the standalone Part D programs, those prescription drug plans, and in many cases are available through the same contract that you're utilizing for the Medicare Advantage plans. When we look at Medicare supplements, we're looking at a broad portfolio of products with systems set in place to help you be successful in this space as well. And the same philosophy there carries over into the ancillary products, where in each of those categories, you have the national leaders there for you to use to not only drive a bit additional business, market in a different aspect, but to cover the needs that are incompletely covered through some of the base programs. We speak to the Medicare market overall. We're looking at a burgeoning market that, you hear of the aging of the baby boomers, the silver tsunami, 1 every 10 seconds, 10,000 plus a day. But if you're looking at things just on life expectancy or life numbers, we're a little off because we're seeing some of those folks that are immediately eligible for Medicare not accessing those benefits immediately. And it kind of pulls that number down a little bit. But we have 15% of the Medicare population that's under the age of 65 accessing those benefits because of disability. So we have a number that is a very substantial number for us to work with, and we need to be aware of the fact that they have special needs. No pun intended for the dual special needs plans or the chronic special needs plans, but 2/3 of the population has 3+ chronic conditions. Income can be a challenge, and we need a way to approach these people compliantly, utilizing some of the rules that are set in place, and we're able to do so because we can address each of the choices that they have as they enter into the need for these programs. And tweaking this a little bit, it goes into the other areas of our industry as well, where people have choices. In Medicare, they don't even have to take the optional Part B. They can decline it should they choose to do so. Thankfully, most don't. Some will self-insure for the base of what Medicare doesn't cover on the medical side and pick up the Part D program for the expenses to help with the expenses on their prescriptions. Some will fill that medical gap through the standardized, modernized Medicare supplement programs, the Medigaps, or some will bundle it all together in the Medicare Part C programs that are the Medicare Advantage plans. In each of these areas, we have different regulations to adhere to and they vary according to the type of programs that are put into play. What that doesn't do is affect the choices of the folks that are coming into Medicare, be they immediately aging in, those late to Medicare seniors, the disabled, whatever it happens to be. We're seeing a pretty even split between the Medicare Advantage and Med Sup plans, which is great because they have different marketing regulations that come into play, and one can help you sell the other. We do have that portion that is still listed as original Medicare, but this includes the dual beneficiaries, the people that have both Medicare and Medicaid, the folks that are accessing care through the Veterans Administration, VA benefits, folks that are utilizing retirement benefits, coverages from where they had worked before they retired, and then, of course, the folks that have made the decision, either consciously or subconsciously, to remain on Medicare only. In each of these areas, we have different means that we can approach people compliantly and make the system work for us if we just think about what we're looking to do and how we're able to educate folks. In each of the subsets of the insurance world, we have our own language. There are the acronyms that are out there, and in the Medicare world particularly, that's a long and substantial list. So part of the follow-up that you'll see is the guide that's listed here, a link to it. That's provided to us by the Medicare Learning Network, a government website that helps us translate and do things properly. One of the first regulations we see in the Medicare world is the lining up of different enrollment periods. We're about to enter into the annual election period. There's a whole bunch of information out there for you from different carriers that are looking to help you sell their product and do so compliantly and yet efficiently. So you're seeing even more substantial tools come out to you to make certain that you're able to take advantage of this space, not only during the AEP, the annual election period, but in each of the other enrollment periods that are standard portions of our calendar. These can be a bit of a challenge based on some of the environment that we have right now, but the standardized SEPs help us, those special election periods throughout the year. There's a ton of them, and they're even augmented by some of the special election periods brought about because of weather and other circumstances. This gives us the opportunity to do what's right and do it compliantly and get in front of people if we're able to master the mindset between these different enrollment periods. They do affect our marketing with some of the other areas of insurance, but positively. Granted, during AEP, a lot of focus may be placed just on this product, but there are ways to cross-sell and do it compliantly, utilizing the regulations that can be very helpful for us. And that's a necessity because, well, Kaiser Family Foundation tells us the majority of Medicare beneficiaries don't review or compare their coverage options annually. This is looking just at base medical that affects their day-to-day living and the circumstances of their wallet. So think of how that comes across when someone looks at, have I done any review on my life insurance? Have I looked into final expense programs? Heaven forbid, have I planned for any long-term care opportunities or circumstances that are thrust upon me? I guess the opportunity versus thrust upon you depends on how you look at it. But this gives us the idea that there's a whole bunch of people out there that really need our help. And the folks that are particularly vulnerable are the ones that are even more challenged by the systems that are in play. And that helps us as independent agents address that need. And we can do so by some pretty simple techniques. It's also important to note that even the people that are accessing the information are having problems understanding it. And a lot of times, this then gives us the opportunity to look beyond Medicare because the Medicare and You guide speaks to us about what Medicare doesn't cover. And that opens a number of other discussions, timing of which is predicated by following the rules. We'll talk about that in just a bit. You'll see that many people aren't using even the government website. So the plan finder is there. It's had some challenges over the last 3 years. They're tweaking it again this year. Some folks aren't using it either. They're not using some of the different pieces that are put out there by the government that helps us understand the choices that are available. So we need to look at things where we can deliver information in the manner in which it's being requested by the folks we're visiting with. Sometimes that means in person, sometimes that means virtually. The regulations on this will vary from subset to subset of the different portions of the market, the insurance market, but having tools that can begin, at least open up the conversation, do so compliantly in the Medicare world, procure that scope of appointment by one means or another, store it for that 10-year period if you sell them or not, and then be able to pivot between virtual or live presentations depending upon the circumstance. We've been through a really unique time in our society, if you want to put it so simply, because of the pandemic, and we don't know where that's going to go. Quite frankly, we're opened up a bit where we can visit people in person, but that doesn't necessarily mean people want to visit with us in person. We have done a lot of training with different portions of our market, particularly in the Medicare space, where they've been trained to receive some information electronically. They've been put through that through their doctors, be their family physician or specialist, doing virtual appointments. You see a lot of work being done virtually with hospitals, even dentists, and our faith-based organizations are putting out their celebrations of faith through virtual means as well. So these folks are becoming increasingly savvy digitally and more open to or even preferring some of the different pieces that come into play in order to receive that information. And I'm sorry, I am running through these fairly quickly. This is being recorded, and you will receive a PDF of the PowerPoint as well as the different pieces here. But the weather subset here, one of the things that you're going to receive is an updated version of this. So when you look at this number, this is just a picture of an older one. You'll receive the updated version as a part of the follow-up as well. So let's talk about some of these rules, how they can help us prospect, and how they can help us grow our business. Well, you're not the boss of me, Tatanka. Yeah, well, depends on what you're doing. And if it's the old expression, everything's legal until you get caught. Well, there are some things that are the boss of us. So we need to follow regulations. We need to make certain that however they are presented to us, we have an answer for that regulation. We abide by it, whether we agree with it or not. And we also make the possibilities of working within those systems as easy as right now, particularly in the Medicare space. Holy cow, Batman, there's a ton of advertisements out there with celebrities, quasi celebrities, whoever it happens to be, that are out there pushing the envelope of what is compliant, what is not when it comes to television commercials. And we see how these have kind of evolved since they really started making a splash, and how some of them have toned down the rhetoric just a little bit. But this is causing a bunch of confusion within the people that we have a relationship with, or whom we hope to have a relationship with, but having an answer for these commercials. Why does it say all this and I don't have this? Making certain that people realize that in the old days, using the word free would have gotten you thrown in compliance jail. And look at it. They all use it at one particular point in time. And even the inimitable J.J. Walker, and it's free. Well, there's a cost to everything. Explaining what is happening and how different programs are available in different areas. We can actually use some of this hubbub being stirred up by these commercials as a means to differentiate ourselves from other organizations, particularly these that blend benefits across different markets together, and speak to our qualifications and certifications that make us different than calling into a call shop. We are your insurance agent, and we are a point of information for you on these programs specifically that affect you and your zip code. And we go beyond one individual benefit. We speak to the entire package and what these folks commonly neglect to address are some of the most important points of health insurance. How you access that care, who is available to deliver upon that care. So, speaking to the network constraints and the benefits that come with a network, we can make a huge difference on responding to these. Yeah, we're going to have some people that, boy, I want that buyback, that give back program. We explain how that costs them other benefits and how that may or may not be available in their market. Makes a huge difference. This is actually generating publicity for us as a whole. And if we stay in front of our people, constantly communicate, remind them that you are their independent insurance agent, offering a multitude of programs, but being able to address specific Medicare healthcare options in their market, it's a different world. No matter what you want to do, you may not want to snipe at them back. There's the old expression, you argue with an idiot, they're going to drag you down to their level and beat you with their experience. We don't need to do that. We just need to make certain that we are addressing their concerns. It gives us an opportunity of speaking to the benefits that can be key to them and are the reasons why they made their choice in the first place. Because when we get in different portions of the insurance world, the dollars that are involved are astronomical. We're looking at just two sections here based from the Standard & Poor's Global Market Intelligence, and we see such a huge amount of dollars that are out there. And for folks that are active in the life and annuity market, we're seeing some pretty staid activity, shall we put it that way. Life insurance applications actually have gone up during the pandemic. Annuity dollars, well, people are looking for security in that area, but with the interest rates so low, we're looking at some guarantees there as a real selling point. You go back into the history of our regulation, it goes back to post World War II, right there, when we speak of the McCarran-Ferguson Act and how this was an initial effort to set up oversight in the insurance world based on state regulations. And those regulations can vary from state to state. You have some general oversight that's laid out for folks dictated by the different departments of insurance, but you also have then the regulations of the direct insurers, so those direct-to-consumer advertisements that you see from different carriers and the reinsurance on these give a stability to our market where a regulation of this sort really inspires confidence in the product that you're selling, knowing that it's going to be there when it's needed. There's an expression back in the old days of my Prudential days when we spoke to A.L. Williams, Primerica, and some of the different pieces that came out, where the whole adage of buy term and invest the rest. What's the best kind of life insurance? Well, the best type of any insurance is one that's in force when it's needed. These regulations help us do so or have the assurance that this is going to happen for the products that we have, and how we can lend the oversight from different organizations or value from the oversight of these different organizations to help people feel more comfortable with the product. We normally don't have to go into this. Most folks are very cognizant of the fact that it's a regulated industry, it's a staid, safe industry, but knowing some of the details on how some of these things came about can really make a difference. And what we see in more recent history is a lot of legislation that's pushed through, sometimes driven by politics, sometimes driven by a perceived urgent need, whatever it happens, it's going through an insanely long documents that aren't completely even read before they're discussed on the floors of the legislative bodies. This gives us, however, an opportunity to go back and make certain that whatever is thrown at us, the too big to fail, systematically important financial institutions, you don't run into this too much with the conversations with your folks as you visit with them, but we want to make certain that we're aware of them, and that if in the odd instance something comes up in that area, we have an answer for the concerns of our products. So this gives us the first opportunity to speak to the fact that we are licensed and regulated as insurance agents. You have a continuing education requirement until you're grandfathered, and then even then you have some other requirements based on you, that you go through this entire prospect or this entire system, because your prospects and your clients need to know that you follow the rules. You are the individual that makes certain that you stay up on current events, and you are a great source of information that they can rely on for their insurance needs. You are that subject matter expert in many of the areas in which you engage your marketing activity, and this can be used as a means to differentiate you from a TV commercial, from someone else who is working some things with themselves in mind, shall we put it that way, as opposed to putting the needs of the individuals with whom you discuss these programs, a bit of fiduciary responsibility in a manner of speaking. And it's the first differentiator that you can use as you visit with people. Don't be afraid to brag on your experience. Don't be afraid to mention what you go through in order to offer the different products that are out there and how that makes you different than any other Tom, Dick, and Harriet that may be in the market. Use that. When we speak to this, it applies to different portions of the Medicare world as well. While certification is not generally required for Medicare supplement plans, there has been recent legislation that has changed how we can market different programs to different people. One Medicare supplement plan that requires certification, the rest of them don't. And you are subject to different marketing rules with Medicare supplements versus Medicare Advantage plans as well. One of the things that recently affected us was the MIPA passage. And if we think about that, okay, it's been in play about 2 years now, thereabouts, affecting Medicare supplement choices. Well, that was clear back in July of 2008, much as what we used to say back in old Prue days, the rock rolls slowly. Well, the enactment of this took some period of time as well, and it changed how different people could access different Medicare supplement plans. We have a completely different training on MIPA that is available on our website and on our YouTube channel. But if you look at this from a little higher viewpoint, it also changed not only those Medigap choices, but certain things within the Medicare Advantage programs and some of the things that came about affecting the beneficiaries that qualify for different assistance programs, those folks with limited income and resources. So it wasn't just a singular piece of legislation aimed just at Medicare supplements. Honestly, the biggest portion of it dealt with providers more than with our world, but these were key aspects that affected how we do business. So one of the things that it did, when you look at some of the low income resource people, it did an alignment between the Medicare savings programs and the low income subsidy programs. It also changed some of the dollars that were involved on how an individual may or may not qualify. Are the cash surrender of a life insurance part of a resource that's counted? In the past, yes. After this, no. There are different pieces that are also the in-kind donations that we saw a lot with low-income individuals, where assistance from family counted if someone declared it. Well, that's changed with this legislation as well. You saw some different things that came into play with different late enrollment penalties that were basically affected by this, and a better way of having people who qualify for the low income subsidy extra help with their prescription drugs, having that start the process to see if they would qualify for assistance with the Medicare savings programs, which can affect the medical costs there. So this is an improvement for many people that are part of the program, and this is something we can use to communicate with the people with whom we're visiting. Because the special election periods were changed by these regulations as well, or different regulations, it gives us the opportunity to tell people that we can perhaps get them additional assistance, help them qualify for it, We're not in charge of that decision, and we need to make that plain for them. But that help with their medications may get them some additional help down the road as well. There are folks that will go through and assist in that program qualification process too, because gee, if you wait for LIS, it's going to take a little while. This is a great way of using changes in regulations in a conversation with an individual. And it's important for us to note that we have to look beyond the environment in which we're meeting these individuals. Sometimes that judgment is done by their house or where they live, pro and con. You can't necessarily assume because it's a nice house, people won't qualify for the additional help. House may be paid off, income can be completely different. We do this on a regular basis with everyone we visit with a simple line of there are different assistance programs that can help you with the cost of your medications and your medical costs. This is what that entails and go into that discussion. This gives us the opportunity to button up our enrollments and our book of business. Because if you don't do this and someone goes through and asks these questions and that person does qualify for low income subsidy or a Medicare savings plan, you're going to lose that individual. And we got to realize we're in this not just for the first year commission, but for those renewals, which in many cases in the Medicare Advantage world are lifetime. Many of the med subs are trending that way as well. We want to make certain that we're taking care of our people and close the door to our competition. So this gives us that opportunity to not only address that need, but during the first 3 quarters of the year, doing so helps us create that special election period where we can then change their coverages compliantly and in their best interest. So having that detailed together can really help us address any changes in their prescriptions and the prescription needs that are there. But that also rolls into Medicare Advantage programs because many of those integrate the prescription drug benefit right into those programs. And if you're selling med sup, having the folks on the higher end of the low income subsidy, the help with the prescription drugs, may enable them to more readily afford a Medicare supplement premium, which in certain circumstances can be in their best interest. So this also changed some of the things that we see in the Medicare Advantage PDP world by some of the cold marketing contacts and different cross-selling techniques that were used in the past became a no-no. It applies to Medicare Advantage PDP plans, not Medicare supplements. So you can continue to cold call for med subs if that's your prerogative. You can continue to cold call for ancillary products. Many agents are doing that, particularly for dental programs. There are organizations out there that do a lot of prospecting in this manner for final expanse or a number of other products that aren't specifically health related with MA and PDP programs. This then also made uplines and the plans responsible for your activities. So you wonder why you go through that certification process each and every year. You dance to the different programs that you have to go through, fraud, waste, and abuse, and life insurance. Well, it is a requirement placed upon the companies by the government in many circumstances. So that's why you're seeing this on a continual basis. It's like, oh, Lord, why I got to do this again? Well, you're covering a whole bunch of different DUPA here, the behinds there, the CYA activity, but it's also a means to look at it as a way of furthering your education, making certain that you're up to date on different requirements and how we can go about doing that. So MIPA isn't entirely a nasty thing. When we look at the pieces you have to go through and that annual certification that I mentioned, there are different aspects of how you look at this, the viewpoint that you have on these programs that can really, really change the mindset you have in this annual process. Obviously, if you're not actively marketing anymore, you still want to have your renewals come to you. So we want to make certain that you have that requirement taken into place. But for those of us that are still actively selling or actively marketing, we want to make certain that we use this as a learning opportunity, making certain that we are up to date with the different changes in the programs. And while many of these, well, they're not going to go into in your market, the primary care copayment is $0. They're going to go through some different pieces that can be helpful for you to help you define your marketing efforts. And sometimes with a lot of the carriers, the use of the NAHU or the AHIP certifications can really help speed that process, particularly if you are looking at multiple carriers. So my first piece of advice in this area is don't look at this just as a requirement. Look at this as an opportunity to differentiate the programs in your mind and being able to better communicate with the folks we're visiting with. And if we're improving our communication skills in that area, what that's going to do for us is increase our sales as well, because we have that additional confidence, which, hey, that's a big part of the sales process. We all know that. But we also then have the detail to properly explain the programs that we're offering and actually become that Medicare certified individual that can help people across the spectrum. And that includes using some of these tools that have been made as a requirement through MIPA, the scope of appointment. NAHU has been chasing this for a couple years to get rid of it. I'm actually a bit of a fan of a scope of appointment because it to our audience that we are a compliant individual. We are an insurance agent that follows the rules, but it also gives us the opportunity to introduce discussion of other products. When you use a generic scope such as this one, it speaks to the options that people have on their base medical. So you're opening up all areas of coverage for the entire Medicare population. Obviously, you do not need to send a scope for these 3 different products here, but utilizing this gives us the opportunity to set the stage for, hey, we're going to talk about your coverages, that your base coverages for your medical expenses and your prescription drugs, and we're going to address other programs that help augment some of the shortfall in those basic programs. We hear quite a bit of talk right now of the possibility of dental, vision, hearing products being added to base Medicare. I'll stare you right in the computer screen and tell you, gee, we've heard that before, and these other programs have a need for additional coverage now. So if they're going to roll out a dental, vision, hearing product, the one thing I will say about that is I know it won't be enough. Your agents talk about that with the programs that are offering dental, vision, hearing benefits, how it's not enough in itself either. So making certain that we're able to bundle some of these programs, this requirement, this regulation can work to our advantage. We're opening a door for additional discussions, be it at the time of the appointment or down the road. Some of the things we also want to make certain that we are conscious of is that permission to contact. So having a strong database that enables us to stay in touch with our folks to make certain that we don't go past that time period that shuts off our permission to speak to the folks that we've talked to in the past. This is a piece taken from United Healthcare and speaking of their mindset on how this is being done. And because our world is so affected by electronic means as well, we have to be careful what we're doing on social media, on email, all the ways of reaching out to people and making certain that that's compliant. So having the access to the do not call registry or making certain any of the leads that we purchase have abided by these regulations, they are first and foremost in our mind as a way of, gee, I got somebody that wants to talk to me. They mail back a letter, but there's no phone call. There's no phone number on it. Can I go door knocking? Sure you can. Good way to get thrown in compliance hell. Hey, there are some different things we need to make certain that we do in order to take care of it. That scope of appointment, remember that scope and the permission to contact aren't the same and aren't interchangeable. Having an SOA does not provide the permission to contact and vice versa. At PTC, that permission to contact is valid for 9 months. However, it expires 90 days after the date received for the folks that are on do not call agent registry. So you got two different timetables that are involved there. And we need to obviously remember, maybe not obviously, that there's a 10-year period where we have to store those scopes of appointment. So having some systems in place that have now enable us to do that compliantly, efficiently, and securely are very important to us. This, once again, gives us that opportunity to take that. Here's a hint of what we're going to talk about. We're going to cover all these. We're going to initial on each of them, and we're going to discuss the possibilities of coverages across the board based on your need. Keep in mind that if you're subject to these regulations, so is everyone else in the industry. No matter what the TV commercials tell you, you're going to do things by the rules, and in the long run, you're going to profit for it. One of the things that we see that came about because of MIPA, of course, was the changes in the plans that are being offered. Back when these programs were standardized and modernized, you saw the introduction of M and N plans. N plans are incredibly popular, according to many of the carriers that are offering Medicare supplement plans. And we see how those can, in certain circumstances, almost mirror some of the Medicare Advantage programs when you talk about Plan N. So these are things that help us address the needs of the Medicare population through Medicare supplements and some new options that are out there. There are, of course, the pieces that are gone to the wayside based on when someone came on Medicare and if they can get a C or an F. They didn't have their Medicare in place by the first of the year 2 years ago. Nope, doesn't happen. But there are different programs that can come into play that can help them. So this gives us, within that scope, utilizing a demand product that enables us to market year-round, the Medicare supplements, to not be subject by some of the scope information there. Generally, if someone's talking to you about a med sup, they're going to want to talk about their drug plan. So it's a kind of a moot point. But you can do different things with med sups that you can't for Medicare Advantage plans. It includes door knocking. And some of the things that you'll see with organizations such as ours are tools that help you find those T65s or people within a particular age demographic that you can utilize that marketing technique. And we're of the year round. That will lead to discussions in other portions of the insurance world. It doesn't dive into nearly as much, but affects people across the board, even if they're constant. Pardon me, we've got some feedback here. Yep, I apologize. We momentarily had a technical difficulty, it appears. Hopefully, all the audio is back. This area is one that has caused a whole bunch of debate by a couple, three different administrations. It also gives us an opportunity to prime the pump for the T65, but more importantly, address the needs of many people in our country that didn't have health insurance in the past. Folks that are active in this area are well aware of the 4 tiers of coverage and how the insurance company pays versus what you pay. Knowing some of the differences between these plans, even if you don't sell them, can help you because many times you'll walk in the house, the couple's different ages. One may be on Medicare, one may not be. And knowing how to handle that circumstance can make a huge difference to how you perform with your target market and how you handle someone who is after a program that you don't offer. So this gives you different referral opportunities as well and makes us, once again, that subject matter expert for that household. This gives us also a way to go through and utilize special election periods within this area as well. So the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, finger quotes, Obamacare, Trump Care, Biden Care, or whatever you want to call it now, it gives us the opportunity to make certain that we prep people for what may well fit their budget and their needs and how that affects them down the line as well. We've got different recordings out there too of Medicare in the marketplace. That's a recording that is available too. Even if you don't operate in this space, it gives you the opening for additional coverages, regardless of what they have in play in the under 65 market. Because these ancillary benefits that we speak to continuously, well, they're not just for the Medicare population. Even if they were just for the Medicare population, go back and think 15% of that population is under the age of 65. And these are commonly needed coverages that affect people of all ages. So making certain that we have those in our quiver of product can make a huge difference on how we cross sell. And the licensing is a bit different than it is in the Medicare space. Many times the same license comes into play. It's life and health. Some folks will do one or the other. Some better in one area than another. The continuing education remains in place. The fraud, waste, and abuse pieces that come into place. You have different requirements that you have to satisfy to sell life insurance as well. And as an example, continuing education requirements in the sovereign state of Texas, you can see how that varies according to the different types of insurance that comes into play. We need to make certain that we not only satisfy the overall 2-year requirement or whatever the requirement timetable is in your state, but also subsets of other specific requirements within those hours. Most of the time that deals with ethics. Gee, why'd that come about? Well, sometimes when you mess in your bed, you sleep in it, and we want to make certain we keep clean of that. So we want to make certain that the continued education is abided by. In the life insurance world, there are different designations, as there are in the Medicare practice, other types of insurance. These are different programs that help enhance your knowledge, but also help enhance your sales skills. I have my LUTCF, my Life Underwriting Training Council Fellowship. Reason I chose that course back in the day is the fact that it is much more life realistic. What am I trying to say here? Part of obtaining that designation is different marketing activities that you are required to undertake, and it can make a difference in your sales throughout your career because it has a lasting effect on not just that product, but ideas on how to approach the general population. And studies shown 50% of the students that enrolled in the LUTCF program, they made a sale based on just the first course of those programs. So doing these programs, additional education can really make a difference for you. And in many cases, these will apply for continuing education credit. So it helps you in a number of different ways. When we speak of long-term care, many times folks will think, well, gee, Medicare is going to take care of that for me. They mix some of the coverages between Medicare and Medicaid. Even if a person does qualify for both of those, that's not always the circumstance you want to be in or your loved ones to be in. So we look at long-term care specifically and make certain that the licensure is there and that that additional certification is taken care of in order to offer long-term care products. Now, some of the things that you'll see with the introduction short-term care programs, they don't require some of the same certifications and things of that nature, but we want to make certain that we are prepared for the opportunities that are presented to us. Because you can simply pull out the Medicare and You book, show them page 49, and see where long-term care isn't covered. That can open an additional discussion. Now, that is not a product that's on the scope of appointment, but that cooling off period gives you the opportunity to gather additional information and make the recommendations on a program that requires a bit of thought ahead of time because you need to tailor it to the individual prospect's situation. It gives us then the opportunity to stay abreast of changes as well because the certification is shorter once you've taken the long one the first time, but you have to have those continual special continuing education classes for this program. It gives us, once again, the organizational mindset of I'm going through what Medicare doesn't cover. I'm looking at some of the other products that are not covered and how do I address them and do so compliantly. To reiterate, not part of the scope. You're going to want to do a discovery process anyway, and you need to be prepared with your certifications and appointment with long-term care to offer the programs in the fashion that suits both you and your prospect. So all said and done, we look at these different programs. Without the rules, we saw chaos. As an individual that started with Medicare Plus choice plans last century, boy, that makes you feel old. We've seen a lot of individuals before MIPA come into play, speak to just one benefit, sign someone up based on, in the Medicare Advantage world, dental benefits, not address the base needs of those programs, and it caused the mess that we saw bring about the regulations for the MIPA regulations. So some of the things that we need to do is make certain that we abide by the rules. We help police our brethren and sisterin, however you say that, in the space in which we operate. We're not out there to be rat finks, but we are out there to protect ourselves and the industry and the population that we serve. So these rules can be helpful for us. We can make certain that we look at them not just as a requirement, but as an opportunity. And they can lend confidence to us by the fact that we are well versed in the programs that we are presenting. And we make certain that we help protect the individual and ourselves with what we're looking for. So let's see. I'm going to go through some questions here really quickly before we go through. I think I've covered 5 of the 6. One question, Lisa, is LUTCF a CE or a separate certification? It's both. You have a certification that comes to you. I have a nice one hanging on a wall somewhere around here with my designation. You have to be part of an association to properly utilize that, but you do receive continuing education for those classes in most circumstances. You are receiving a copy of these slides in a PDF format as part of the follow-up, and you will have the link to the recording as well. So some of the things that we want to make certain that you realize as you enter into such a regulated industry is you got a whole portfolio of products to use. What is the hot point? What is the opening for your appointment? And how do you transition from that product into a multiple sale within a household? Because keep in mind, the more product you have in a house, the better your persistency, your retention is. The higher the number of products, the higher the persistency. And keep in mind, those products don't have to be all with the same company. They just have to be with the same agent, you. And that can make a huge difference on your income year over year and the peace of mind that you have knowing you have those renewals coming to you. And should you set up your agency properly, a means to either continue those dollars coming into your family and your household and your agency, or the ability to sell that book down the road as well. Some of the things that we can do to help you in this area, well, because we're talking a lot about cross-selling and multiple products, having a program such as SuranceBay, where you can set up your agent profile within that system, gives you the ability to electronically contract with multiple carriers very easily. It tracks your E&O, your errors and admissions coverage. You answer the questions that are required on 99% of the different programs that are out there that you would have to fill out individually. And it eliminates one of the challenges we have across the board in our industry that has brought about the whole contract electronically, submit your applications electronically, and that's our handwriting. We kind of suck at that if you want to think about it. Some of you have very great handwriting. Me, I write kind of like a chicken in heat, depending upon how tired or how fast I'm trying to write. This eliminates that, and it eliminates that 60-page contract where you forgot the initial page 34. It's going to not allow you to move forward. on a particular carrier unless it's completed fully. So keep that in mind. We also offer discounted E&O for qualified agents. What's E&O and what's a qualified agent? Well, you know what E&O is. That's errors and omissions coverage. That's malpractice insurance for insurance agents. Qualified agent, you got a contract with us. This program, however, is something that you buy at a discounted rate, but it applies across the board with the carriers that you offer, no matter who your marketing hierarchy is. So it's different than being added to a blanket E&O policy for one program, and then you have to figure out, what am I going to do for the rest? This takes care of you, a great program, great discounts, and good solid coverage. We also help you with the different continuing education classes that we've discussed ad nauseum here as to how you keep your license in play. So these CA bundles are brought about through our association with WebCE and are deeply discounted for you in order to make certain that they're available to you at a reasonable rate, and a great way to make certain that you are staying abreast of the requirements of your licensure. You also have an opportunity to add your own benefit package through this modified guarantee issue non-cancelable disability income insurance program for yourself. Modified guarantee issue, discounted rates, you are paid a commission on a product you're selling yourself. Much as work, today's presentation is being recorded. Past presentations have been as well. You'll find that these are on topics that help you market, different approaches for different marketing strategies, owning an area, your target market, affecting the different centers of influence in that community, such as faith-based organizations, providers, retail opportunities, different programs that are out there recorded, available for you 24/7 through our website, premiersmi.com, and on our YouTube channel as well. We do also offer complimentary access to Medicare Center for agents that are contracted with us. What that mean, John? Free. That whole thing I was talking about that J.J. Walker does, that we never used to be able to do in the Medicare world, and it's free. Well, this is a program, a system with an all-in-one universal login that gives you access to 3 quoting engines powered by Connecture, Sunfire, and CSG. So you're covered across the board with those comparison tools, a opportunity to reach out and obtain that scope of appointment and store it for that 10-year period, whether you sell it or not, through different means, and making certain that you're staying compliant there. It's CRM that's part of the system. There's also resources in there on different topics to help you be stronger in your chosen endeavor, all available without cost to you. It includes a system in there that helps you cross-selling. So within the CSG system, there is a program in there that helps you fill in the gaps. Most helpful when you're dealing with a Medicare Advantage program that, hey, it's still their best choice. It's got their docs. The benefits are good. They don't want to change. They have hospital copays. So you can fill in the gaps with a system that helps you explain a hospital indemnity program and how that can ensure that they're completely covered in that area of care moving forward. Once again, each of these systems gives you that opportunity to build the percentage of your customer retention. That persistency goes up. More products you have, the more opportunities that you're doing things compliantly. That can make a huge difference to you, not only in how you sell, but how you keep your book of business in play. Keep in mind, you can pour a whole bunch of water in a bucket, but if it don't have a bottom, you're not keeping any of it. And we want to make certain we're plugging leaks, not just providing a floor to that bucket. Many of these programs offer you additional incentives. In the Medicare world, Medicare Advantage and prescription drug plans, well, the maximum compensation for those are set by the government. Most of the carriers max out those compensations. You can see some help sometimes with different marketing programs or perhaps certification costs. But where you see these incentives come into play more frequently, and I tell you right now, very competitively in the Medicare supplement market and in different portions of the ancillary world, DVH programs, hospital indemnity program, HIP programs. There's a bunch of them out there where you are entitled to additional dollars And in some cases, carrier trips that can make a difference in what's the differentiation between me selling this program versus this one when, boy, the lipstick looks like it's the same shade on that pig. Well, this is a specific place on our website that gathers that information together for you. And in many cases, this helps you qualify for incentive programs from Premier as well. Those include some different means of getting you in front of people, including custom call lists for the programs that allow you to do so at a low or no cost. Those different community-based programs that I referenced during the recording session that deal with how do I make my retail marketing program as effective as possible, increase my return on investment. Walmart program went up in cost this year. How are we preparing to make certain that pays off for us regardless of the numbers that they're charging us for those programs? How do I approach different centers of influence that have patients or attendees or members, however you want to say it? They aren't responding to other marketing outreach. They will respond to advice from their providers or from their faith-based organization. These can be very helpful for you in place that can help you work effectively in that space. We do also want to make certain that any carrier-generated prospects are headed your direction. This, in many cases, is based on Medicare Advantage or PDP programs and those carriers, and it's a symbiotic relationship. But hooking up with the folks that control that lead flow, in many cases, agent managers in different markets, can make a big difference for you. We do offer internet leads and direct mail support and a system to help you maximize your referrals as well. When you look at direct mail, it's a deeply discounted program based on production. There are two ways to qualify, and you can qualify for both. One through the sale of health insurance products, one through the sale of final expense programs. This gives you the ability to offer, go in and take advantage of these mail programs. Do it consistently, because direct mail is a lot like your exercise program. You do it once, you just feel a little bit of pain. You don't see a lot of results. You do it consistently, that's when it pays off for you. This helps you afford to do so, and do so in a manner where you're controlling what's being mailed, and you get an immediate notification of someone who's raised their hand. We do so through preferred lead vendors that all have CRM systems that make it easy for you to access a lead as soon as they raise their hand. And we do so because we also vet these programs to make certain the correspondence is compliant for you to protect you in that aspect. We do also have a couple of different programs that help you with purchasing just the return on direct mail. Keep in mind, because of the turnaround, this isn't same-day notification, but it gives you the opportunity to plug into the system direct mail responses that are fresh, haven't been spoken with in the past. And some folks will do that to help augment their other marketing activities or utilize this to target a particular area. The lead cost on this will vary from market to market and from time to time in the year. A lot of it's demand, who's responding, but it's a great way for you to build on fresh leads in that fashion. The internet lead program, it's Facebook, and we have one set up for final expense and for Medicare leads. The thing with internet leads is someone's responding to an ad through this, they're going to respond to other ads most probably as well. So this is a program that requires a really quick turnaround. You want to be that person that speaks to these people first before other inquiries are answered. We spoke of the way of utilizing a referral system to grow the new leads. It's also a program that helps you engage and present book of business. We spoke of Medicare Center, and the storing of that material year over year within that system enables you to go back, engage your book of business, or the folks that are in there that you didn't sell that you have permission to contact, visit with them on a year-to-year basis about the coverages that they have in play with you, but also then to cross-sell and access some of the best leads that you'll ever have, and that's through referrals with these individuals. Keep in mind, you still have to abide by the permission to contact piece, but involving your clients and having them tell their friends, family, neighbors, whatever it happens to be about you and the great job that you are doing is the opportunity to grow that lead force or that lead source as well. We do all this because we want your business. We want to be referable to you. We want to make certain that we are helping you grow your insurance agency as well. Tina, YIG is your insurance group. Basically, that's the organization that is creating that lead system, that direct mail response system. So having checked the questions, this is all a means for you to internalize a process, think beyond a singular product, think beyond the regulations that you are burdened with, it feels like sometimes, and look at them a little bit differently. Make certain that you realize that this is an opportunity to grow and an opportunity for you to polish your badge, in a manner of speaking, and differentiate yourself from everyone else in the market. How you are dedicated to your craft and how this can make you the partner for your prospects and clients moving forward. Integrating it into your system, you can do it right away. This doesn't mean we got to wait for annual election period. We don't have to wait for OEP. We don't have to wait for the sun to rise or fall or set. We just need to put it in play. And as John Wayne said in the movie The Cowboys, slap a piece of bacon in that biscuit, saddle up, let's ride. We're burning daylight. Put it in play and put it in play quickly. So all that said and done, a real quick check of questions yet. Well, we got them covered. You can reach us at 1-800-365-8208. If you're currently working with an agent success manager, your marketer with Premier, you'll be directed to them and make certain that they take care of you. If you haven't worked with us, we're going to assign you to a subject matter expert that can help you in this area. You can reach us too through our website at premiersmi.com and watch for the follow-up that'll be sent to you. We're trying a number of different things for that follow-up because of a lot of the security measures that have come into play. Attachments can sometimes put these messages in the spam. Some of the links, we want to make certain that you feel comfortable with the fact that they're not going to take you where you don't need to go. So you will have that correspondence. You can reply to that, and we'll make certain that you have someone visiting with you about the opportunities and questions that you can bring about. So all that said and done, all we need to do to close out this presentation that went a little longer than I anticipated is to thank you. I want to thank you for the investment of your time with us here today. I want to thank you if you've had a relationship with us in the past for that and for the business that you have done with us. For those of you who are considering to do so, I thank you for that as well. So all said and done, until we're able to visit again, I wish you good selling. Thanks so very much, and we'll talk to you soon.